Hello, I'm Rickard, and I will speak to you how actions speak louder than words and why that's important. But first, let's look at some examples of this. Did you know that the time you spent in the restroom predicts better when you'll quit your job than your own estimations? Your grocery basket predicts better who you'll vote for than your Instagram or social media posts. What you say you spend your money on predicts very poorly how you end up spending your money. But before we go into actions, let us talk about the biggest hype right now, large language models. So how does large language models view language? Well, they take a ton of text from the internet, they look at these as a sequence of words, and try to predict the next word or token based on previous words or token, right? This is the gist of LLMs. But we can look at behavior in a similar way. We do actions in the real world, we can sort them chronologically and try to predict the next action based on previous actions, based on data from the real world. So what are the implications of this? Well, if you take a foundation model like an LLM or a vision model that's trained on the internet, it typically understands meaning and similarity and relatedness based on features. So we tell you in a product setting that lactose-free milk and regular milk are similar and related and close because they have similar features. But if you instead look at the behavioral dimensions and how people act on these products, you will see that actually lactose-free milk and regular milk are very far apart because they're not bought together. Instead, it might be that lactose-free milk and gluten-free bread are more related and close. So you need to let users, through their behavior, define meaning. So we've been obsessing about behavioral intelligence and data for the last 5 years. And it's definitely a spectrum of the predictiveness and usefulness of this data. So on the extreme left on noisy data, you have what people say they want and will do. But as you look at how people spend their time and how they invest their money, that becomes more and more predictive. So basically, LLMs are trained on the internet, which definitely exists in this space of what people say they want and will do, which creates not very predictive models in the real world, and they suffer from hallucination, etc. So what we do is that we train large behavioral models directly in this action space from the real world, which gives much more robust and predictive models. And this is also why we're seeing that actually LLMs are not revolutionizing behavior-driven businesses. An example of behavior-driven businesses are retailers and payment companies, right? But the core of retail is not text-based intelligence from the internet. The core of retail is transactions and consumption, and that's behavior. What we see is that a lot of our clients, more than 99% of their data is transactional and behavioral. And they need to be able to leverage that fully to really build competitive advantage. And that's what we've done with Behavior GPT. It's a behavior-to-behavior foundation model that generates human actions and wants. It's been trained on over 1 trillion human actions, and it cost over $5 million just to train. And it's now outcompeting LLMs as the model of choice for behavior-driven companies in retail and payments. It's the ChatGPT moment for behavior-driven businesses. So, some more examples, right? Here we have a recommendation engine. On the left side, we have a model that's been trained on the internet. It gives, recommendations of similar motives to this Clint Eastwood movie poster. And it gives black and white photos and motives from old movies. They all happen to be from romantic movies, but this is reasonable results, but they're also incorrect. If you look at the behavioral perspective, you see that people here are actually looking for masculine movie stars from that era. And you can really get that right, which drives sales and gives happier users. Similarly, if you look, for example, of human experts trying to understand what language to describe products and motives with to engage users, here we have a swans, sunset, etc. And the human experts put these labels and keywords. They put nature, forest, woodlands, all reasonable, but they're missing the most important one, which is sunset, which you can get by looking at actual customer behavior and let them define meaning for you. What we see is that we're able on average, to increase sales with 20% on existing solutions at these companies. And we do this with 15 times fewer people. But we also allow them to build completely new revenue streams that they thought were impossible before. And we're no longer being benchmarked against existing solutions. The only thing they think have the ability to beat us are LLMs and agents, but they don't stand a chance. So if you are a behavior-driven company, for example, in retail and payments, then we're very excited to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rickard.